Hey, everybody!
Oh,
Welcome to Tavern Talk.
no.
This is the show where we sit around and talk D&D, and specifically, we talk a lot about our own show, Tavern Knights. With me, I'm Chris. I'm the DM of Tavern Knights. We got Russ next to me, who's my partner on Nerds with Alcohol.
Currently shoving McDonald's into my face.
Yeah. We have my lovely wife Renee. Um,
Yes, please
who
point
is
in the right direction for that.
what's that?
Please point in the right direction for that, because it ain't me.
No, it's down that way. She's down underneath Russ in my visual. Um, and but yeah, she plays Klimbrum, a dwarven monk. Russ, by the way, Russ that way. I always have to point opposite of which way I think it is because it's like a mirror. Well, it's actually not even a mirror. It's but anyway, Russ plays Marikaris, a ASMR paladin, and then Bob, who's directly below me here, plays a Grimbolt, a dwarven ranger. So, well, ranger cleric now. So,
Ranger cleric rogue.
So,
But shh, don't tell Pete that.
yeah, Pete, who's normally here for this show, said he couldn't make it tonight. So he will be here on Friday, though, when we do our next show. So yeah, join us Friday, 7:30, right here on Twitch, for Tavern Nights. It's gonna be a good time.
Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, Eastern Standard Time. Is
You
it standard?
promise?
I don't know. Is it daylight savings now, or is it standard? I could never. I never remember which
The next
which.
one's the last one.
I know it
I
is.
always lose track.
Well, I just don't
know which
I
one's
don't
which.
remember which one is which. Are we on standard time now, or are we on daylight savings time?
No, we're on Standard Time
We're on
now.
Standard
we go
Time
into
now?
Daylight Savings.
And so we're going to daylight savings, and we're going to stay on daylight savings. That's stupid. We should be on
You wanna know-
standard.
money. That's why. Because it will keep people out later, and when people stay out later, they spend more money.
Oh.
That was actually a really big debate because our circadian rhythms want to be on Standard Time. That's how we evolved. But because of money, we're going to stay on like daylight savings.
That's everything in the U.S. now. Is all about money. That's
Well, yeah.
So we're not changing
That's a
anymore.
whole shtick.
no after the spring. That's the last one. That's the last change.
Yeah.
Spring
forward, it's done.
and then we're done. We don't
That
change.
was one of the few unanimous votes in the Senate. If there's one thing
damn near
in this
unanimous.
country that we can all agree on, daylight savings is stupid. And everyone hates it.
I'd have to agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, that passed last year, I believe.
Yeah. So they said they were going to do one more fall back and then spring forward, and then we're done.
I think that's what it is. Whichever one.
It is.
Spring forward is daylight savings. I don't remember.
No.
I feel like
It
I have
doesn't matter anymore.
The next one's the last one.
Awesome.
Let's see.
I always hated
So
it.
daylight savings time begins in the summer, so it's in March, and then it ends in November. So it is.
So we are on Standard Time.
Yes.
Right now.
Yes. Although this says that daylight savings time 2023 in the United States will begin at 2 a.m. on Sunday, March 12th, and end at 2 a.m. on Sunday, November 5th. But we're not supposed to go back to.
Oh, maybe this is the last year of it, and then
I don't know.
Next year we don't. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
We'll figure it out. I guess I thought it was spring was the last one, but
Yeah. Maybe they changed it.
yeah, maybe.
I don't remember.
But anyway, we're not here to talk about daylight savings time. That's a nerdy topic that we could talk
honestly,
about on Nerds with Alcohol. But
That was quite the nerd segue.
That was far too much time to spend on that to start with.
Maybe we'll talk
For
about that
nerds,
tomorrow.
we gotta know the answer.
Actually, we'll probably talk about it when it actually happens in March. So
Yep.
in about a month and a half. But we're here to talk about D&D. So first, before we get into the I'm not even gonna say the elephant in the room because it's not. It's just the elephant. It's really the 800-pound gorilla that's been walking around.
Dude, this has been the biggest news time for Dungeons and Dragons since 5th edition was released.
Yeah.
We haven't had this much like in the news feed
And
For
we're gonna
D&D,
we're gonna
yes.
get into some of that, and because I've got some theories too, and I want to get some other people's opinions on it. But what first I want to talk about our game, because
Okay.
let's face it, that's more important. Um,
Yes.
so you guys are you guys are following Euchariah, and I really wish Euchariah was here for this, Pete, because I'd like to see what he's thinking. But you guys are actually following something that is really a side mission for Euchariah. It's a map that he
Yeah, we're on
found.
a Euchariah arc right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a map that he's had since he escaped the goblin attack on his adoptive mother's home, and he's had it. He has no idea what it was, but Grimbolt was able to identify the area where it was, and you were able to, and you guys followed it, and you wound up following a path in the mountains, and entered a cave that you had to open up by using darkness, and it's been really dim inside there. Lights don't work. Your flames don't work right. They kind of burn blue. Light spells only give off dim light. But the whole place is lit up dimly for the most part. Some of the places, some of the stuff has been dark.
Wonderful.
But...
It's so nice that others in the party know what the struggle that Climbrum goes through every day.
Yeah, Climbrum's been loving it because with
like,
the dim light.
when your thing doesn't work, like your flame sword just like doesn't work right, or
it's still doing the damage.
Oh yeah, but it's not bright.
Right. It's not putting off the light.
It's so nice.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Bright light doesn't affect your damage output. The shadow is. I think Chris was saying that
you take away my ability to get advantage on every single one of my hits by being shiny.
Oh, okay, maybe
because
so.
if I bamf in and attack, I instantly get advantage on my hits. That's why I bamf in and run out.
Mm-hmm. This is that
and
Chris
when I
was
can't
saying that.
bamf, I don't get advantage.
Mm-hmm. Well, Chris was saying that my radiant damage wasn't as. I think you had said it wasn't as strong or wasn't as effective.
Well, you noticed it wasn't wasn't the flare. Like normally when you would hit and put one of your smites into something, there'd be this flare of holy light, and even that was very muted. But your sword is also glowing. It's not. It doesn't have the bright orange flames. It's got. It's more of a dull blue, or it's more of a muted blue. It's not giving off a lot of light. The heat's still there, but it's not giving off a lot of light. And the other thing is Octavian's noticed that his guiding bolt doesn't work quite the same way because it doesn't light things up after he hits him with it. Right now. But
this place is the best.
So you guys have been fighting like some really pale elves with generally darker hair, occasionally white hair, but and then you wandered through, fought a bunch of elves, found some secret doors.
Those elves pack a punch.
Yeah, they do. Mm-hmm. And you wound up coming into a room that is basically what appears to be kind of a throne room of some sort, because there's a throne at the end. And this is where we left off, was you opened up some double doors. Marikaris tried doing the big grand entrance, cape billowing, and
I did.
Yep. And you came into a room that had a bunch of different people in it. And there was a woman, dark hair, pale skin, lounging on the throne. Not even sitting, really. She had one leg up over one of the arms and looked over and went, oh, welcome. Come on in. And that's where we ended things. And there are some of those elves in there as well, along with a dwarf and another thing that we'll get into when we get there.
I think we had also taken the time. This was right after a rest, too, if I remember correctly.
You had taken a long rest.
Yes.
You had basically barricaded yourselves in, and you heard rattling at the door multiple times.
Yeah, there was no way that I was going to do one more room, and I literally told everyone to fuck off. I'm going back to the other room.
You did.
And I GTFO'd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was really funny, actually. It's like when Klimbrum, like, definitely put her foot down.
Yeah.
Like, fuck
No.
all y'all. I'm taking a nap. You know. All right. Listen to what the lady says, man.
You guys got to wait like 20 hours, but okay.
Time for the nap. Yeah.
Don't care. I'm going to read my
Down
book.
for the eve. No, I feel you, because I mean, I know, you know, that's the thing. That's one of the things about D&D, the current edition of D&D, that's good and bad, is that almost everybody has some kind of finite special ability. You know, the monks have their key points, and you know, paladins like myself have have smites that are tied to our spell slots. I think, don't rangers have something similar too, Bob? They've got I can't remember. Don't you have some?
Well, I have spells,
Mhm.
and I could do the kind of brokenly sad. It's I can sense creatures within a certain range. If they're you know, like aberrations, fae, dragons, and
Right.
it uses up a spell slot to
Okay.
power it.
Yeah, but you don't have like an extra special, like, damaging attack, or other than, well,
he
you
does. He does because he's a Gloomstalker.
right. Yeah. Okay. But it's like I said, there's a lot of the classes have some sort of, like, you know, thing that
Yeah,
you
like
can only
fighters
use.
have action surges.
Yeah, fighters have action surges. You only have a certain amount of things that you can use per day, or you know, per rest, and I think we've started to lean on them a little bit more than we used to in the old systems, so that you know when you're out of your shit, you're a lot less effective in battle. You know,
Yeah,
before
because you're
before-
supposed to be tired after a
Right.
battle.
well, before it used to be just the mages and stuff. Like the fighter classes didn't have as many of those things, but
Bob's
It
being
was
attacked
like-
by cats.
it was mages and,
No,
and
he,
well, it
he
was
just
magic
likes to run
users.
across the keyboard
Right.
to get
It was
to the
magic.
guy.
Anybody that used any kind of, you know, spells, if your spells are gone, you were definitely done. Particularly
Yeah.
mages, clerics at least could still swing a mace.
Yeah.
But yeah, nowadays it's like almost everybody. You know, barbarians have their rages, and you know, like you said, they got the action surges and shit like that. There's a lot more things.
Warlocks
going on
have
for
very
the fight.
limited spell slots, but they get them back at a short rest.
Right. So so interesting. It's interesting that's kind of how one of the ways the system is dramatically different from what it used to be. Almost everybody gets either, you know, has something that they run out of that makes them a lot more effective, you know.
Yeah,
So-
one of the other things that I really liked in the last game was the fact that Uriah went down like 3 times,
Yeah, he played yo-yo.
and it was a small little role play moment that Pete did, but I absolutely adored it. Of Klimbrum, I don't know how you deal with this all the time, because historically Klimbrum is the one that always goes down,
Well, get your ass
and I don't
knocked
know
out.
why the light's name is Harold. It was just the first name that popped in my head.
The what?
The light
Oh.
at the end of the tunnel. Like, oh yeah, by the way, that light's name is Harold. Thomas and I. Like, it was
We're
just
pals.
the first.
We see
Yeah,
each
just
other
the-
a lot, you know.
Yeah, we do. Not today, Harold.
'Cause it's Herald of the Light.
I guess so.
There you go.
Yeah. But it was a real quick moment that I really, really enjoyed.
He said, "Not today, Pelor."
Yeah. That would have been funnier. That would have been
That's,
funnier, but for whatever reason, Harold came to my brain.
You're gonna have to spend some other time before you get to see Pelor's shining nutsack.
Yeah.
That's only Octavian.
Only Octavian has the privilege
he gets
to see
you know,
the shining nutsack.
he gets the
He gets
morning
to
tea
be-
bag.
Yeah, he gets to be teabagged on his way to the great beyond.
Yeah.
This shit ain't right, man.
But yeah, so that's where we're gonna pick up this week. We'll see what how you guys do and what you want to do.
I'm
So-
excited.
Already. Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
really excited because this is going to be a lot of fun.
I'm just really glad we got a long rest. I was actually fully prepared
Well,
to, because we were going to be sitting for 20 hours. It was going like we would have had an opportunity for a role play moment, and we really didn't take it for whatever reason. But because so Klimbrum has a backpack that's just filled with books. Because I spend a lot of time in the car by myself, I actually have little synopses of all said books. And I was fully prepared to give a synopsis of every book that I handed out.
That's awesome. That's attention
the-
to detail. You gotta appreciate that in a game when you're in your game group. If one of your players is actually is anal enough to it's like, oh man, I gotta have for a potential role playing moment.
Yeah.
I got to make sure I've got
Well-
synopses for all the different books I have in my 30 some odd books I have in my fucking backpack. Mhm.
Like I actually have an outline of the whole series of Long
Tusk-
Sword of Love.
Long sword. I was going to say Tusk Love, but because I couldn't remember.
Yeah, Long Sword of Love. Yeah.
Long Sword of Love. Holy shit.
So that's funny because I'm actually working on, and I'm hoping it may not be until the campaign's over that I actually get this out to you guys. But I'm actually working on a world building website. I'm using one of the many that are out there, and I was playing with it a little bit earlier today. But that's something, Renee. If I get you to get an account on there, I can actually have you come in and be a contributor, and I think you can actually add articles. So you could actually add synopses.
I know you sent it to me.
Yeah, you could add synopses of all the books
Okay.
in there as an article.
Yeah, because it's just like what I dictate to my phone while I'm driving. Like I have names and yeah, it's especially Long
Nice.
Sword of Love. I've spent a lot of time on that one.
I just bet you did. That's some funny shit.
But yeah, it's one of those things where eventually I think I can even like put it out as being a public thing, so we could actually link people to it if there's like fans that want to go check it out. Speaking of which, I did put up the last episode of Tavern Knights on YouTube today. So that is up there for anyone that didn't catch it live. It actually is still on Twitch, I believe, until Thursday or Friday. They're up for 2 weeks, so it's usually right about the time that we do our new one that the old one drops off. Russ and I were dark last week because I was out of town, but
Somebody had to go out of town for work.
oh, dude, I would have much rather been here doing Nerds with
Well,
Alcohol.
yeah,
with
you were
guys.
in Cleveland.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to getting back to normal schedule, but I'm also really looking forward to playing on Friday. I really did miss it. Last Friday when I got back, I had been back for a day, and with everything going on, I'm like, I really want to play this week. I'm like, I was so excited with where you guys left off. And what's funny is I went back and because I was getting things edited up and everything for the last episode, the end of that episode is hilarious because it's like I'm getting everything set up. I brought out that new map and everyone's like, oh, that's so cool and everything. And then you hear Renee going, oh, this is where we're going to end it, isn't it? She's like, I mean, I'm tired, but damn.
Yeah. I'm going to be really happy when I'm not on this weekend schedule anymore.
Yeah, I'm going to be really happy when you're not on the weekend schedule anymore.
Because, man, let me tell you, Saturday mornings are rough.
Well, I bet.
Oh, man, I've had too many near misses on Saturday mornings because I'm too tired.
Well, don't you get up at like 4 a.m.
5
or
a.m.
something? 5 a.m.? Yeah,
Yeah.
that sucks on ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finishing
That's why I'm
finishing
just like,
playing
good night,
at,
everybody.
At midnight, yeah. And that's why she always pieces out so quick. It's like
Yeah,
oh, sorry,
Because
gotta go.
I'm trying to like get as much sleep as I can, but like I don't actually fall asleep till close to 1 because of like just getting ready, getting my clothes ready for the following day, getting the dogs all set.
Right.
because normally I just leave them in their kennels and Chris takes care of them, but then I get bombarded by Trevor when Chris comes to bed. So last week at the last game, I actually took care of them and just had them in the bedroom with me, and that worked out a lot better. So I'm going to continue to do that. But all of that, like, I usually don't fall asleep until close to 1. So I'm functioning on 4 hours of sleep, and I drive over 100 miles a day.
Wow.
Happily, Saturdays are short days, and they're only 100 miles and not 275, like Sundays are.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
it really is.
I drove 3,917 miles this month. I was really upset that I didn't hit 4,000. So close. So close.
But so yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys do with this. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting back at it. I think I've been really enjoying this because this is something that I put together. So it's fun to see how challenging it actually is, because I think this has been a bigger challenge for you guys, like combat wise.
Oh yeah.
Than what you've seen in the past. I mean, it's not like a 4-round dragon fight.
No. No, these guys will pump you full of necrotic energy and deal 97 points of damage in a single round.
You gotta admit that was on a critical.
Yeah, that was a crit. It was a crit, so.
But still, the fact that they have the ability to do that much damage in a single round, crit or no crit, it's a lot of damage.
It is.
It is.
I mean, it impressed all of us. We're like, damn!
Rosalind hasn't done that. She's not in this campaign, but she's had some pretty epic sneak attack crits and hasn't come close to that.
Yeah.
No, that was it. In all honesty, I mean, any D&D gamer would raise their eyebrows at 97 points of damage done in a single round.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
So from full,
but
well, I mean, that would have
go down.
Well, in older systems, that would have been a check.
That would have been a catastrophic hit.
Yeah, it would have been a catastrophic hit, and you would have had to make a death save.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. I essentially got hit by a bus. Don't really bounce back from that.
Yeah,
right.
Everyone watched you get black veins all through your body.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that this doesn't happen in 5e, but it makes a lot of sense for it to be. Like if you take over half your actual hit points in a single hit, yeah, that's a catastrophic hit.
Yeah.
Like making a death save of something like that in a single hit or a single round, that makes a lot of sense to me. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad it's not there, because that's just one more thing to keep track of, but it does make a lot of sense.
Well, and it comes down to kind of like what we were talking about earlier. So, and this is a little bit of an offshoot, because we've been watching. I mean, it's kind of still D&D related, but we've been watching the Vox Machina show, and I know Russ and I will be talking about this tomorrow.
Oh, it's absolutely still D&D related.
And it's fantastic, but it's the one where Vex dies.
Oh yeah,
and
Episode
like
3
dies.
Season 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's heavy.
And Renee actually watched clips of that actual episode from when it happened in game, and she's like, "That's almost like word for word."
It's almost word.
Yeah.
All of Liam's stuff was word for word.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was gone for a minute. What happened?
Yeah. That a lot of Percy's dialogue was almost word for word.
Mm-hmm.
They switched up Zara's a little bit.
They made Zara a lot more callous.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Pike wasn't. I don't think Pike was actually there when that happened. So
I didn't
Pike
actually
to be
see
there,
Pike at all. Yeah, I don't think she was.
I think if I remember correctly, that because I watched a side by side.
She wasn't there because they were doing the trials.
Yeah.
For the Slayers Guild. Or
right,
Slayer's
and that's the thing. It was the Slayers Guild trials, Whereas in this, they're going after one of the vestiges instead for the Slayer's.
No. So they apparently go back. Because the clips that I saw, they were going for the vestiges.
Yeah, they were going for the vestige.
It wasn't during the trials. They go back to whatever town that is.
Pike wasn't. Ashley Johnson.
Ashley Johnson
there
just wasn't there
to play Pike.
Yeah, because of blind spot.
Yeah, because of blind spot, and that's one of the reasons why
taking a paying gig over that.
Over playing D&D.
Yeah,
and that's why it was a good thing that Kashaw was there, because at the time, because he's the one that was able to cast the spell, and not the two of them like working together to do it.
Yeah,
yeah. But anyway, that was the whole thing, and when she got hit, she rolled a death save and rolled a 1, so that's an automatic double failure.
Yep.
And that's actually what killed her. But that's the kind of thing that I mean, I could do something like that. I'm not going to right now, but if you take over half your hit points, then you got to make a death save. If you don't make it, boom, you drop to 0.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, she rolled a nat 1 on her dexterity save to avoid the blast. And it did so much damage that it auto killed her with a nat 1.
It's wild too, because you look at, because like I said, I watched the side-by-side comparison with the scene and then what it actually happened on YouTube. It was really cool, because knowing that what's going to happen, and you see that she fails it, she goes like, big deal, she's not really worried too much about it. But then you look at Matt's face when she failed it, and he's just like, okay. And he's got a hell of a good poker face, but having watched this show for a number of years, hundreds of hours, literally probably thousands, over 1,000 hours, I'm sure at this point, watching all of the campaigns. You get to see his tells a little bit, particularly if you know what you're looking for. And his eyes just okay. Yeah, it was just like he knew it. He knew what he was going to have to do. And it was
it's kind of like when he in campaign 2, episode 26, like
with Molly Mock.
Yeah.
Which, holy shit, I can't wait until they do Mighty Nine.
I'm so
Mighty Nine show.
It's a great
I want to
announcement.
see. I'm hoping that the first season is leading up to, and it ends with Molly Mock's death.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good place to end the first season. I was really glad to hear this, because I know Chris and I had theorized that maybe the third that they would finish off the Chroma Conclave in season 2 of Vox Machina, and then maybe season 3 they'd start to get into, maybe they just skip the Vecna storyline or whatever, and then start to get into the Mighty Nine. But now it's looking more and more like, my guess is that they're going that the Chroma Conclave is going to extend into season 3.
Which it really should.
Which it should. It's a big story.
It's a big arc.
And then with the announcement of the new Mighty Nine show, it's a separate show. I'm tickled pink. I love it. I love it.
And first right of refusal on a movie.
Yeah, because that's the thing. They've signed an entire long-term, multi-year
deal
contract. So Amazon has first right of refusal on live action, on any movies.
Well, on a movie. They didn't say live action or animated.
Well, on a movie. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm loving everything I'm seeing.
Love the Mighty Nine.
Well, yeah, that was where you started.
Yeah.
Honestly, I love the Mighty Nine too. I started with the original series, and then started watching Mighty Nine shortly after. But Mighty Nine are the ones I love.
Yeah, it took me
honestly,
a long time
I don't give half a shit about I actually like some of the characters from Vox. Hell's Bells, 1, is a dumbass fucking name, and 2, I don't really care for any of the characters.
You see, I'm really liking campaign 3 now too, because they're finally getting to know their characters.
Yeah. For me,
I'm really enjoying
I haven't watched it in months. So
see, I was half. I'd say when I started watching it, they were probably about a third of the way through the second campaign. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to get into the campaign 2. I'm going to go to campaign 1 first. I'm going to start at the beginning. And so I really kind of fell in love with the Vox Machina. It took me a little bit to care about the Mighty Nine, but it happened fairly quickly. I'd say within the first 20 episodes, I was like, okay, I'm starting to really like these guys.
It took me a long time to start liking anyone from Vox Machina, because the whole, now granted, it's their first streams and all of that, and
they're all murder hobos.
Yeah, they're all just assholes.
They are murder hobos.
For the most part, yeah. Pike's
not for the most part. They're murder hobos.
Nah, Pike's not an asshole. I'd say she's the most redeemable one. Grog, it's just kind of an idiot. Although, but I really feel like their characters grew a lot, though. By the end of the series, they had grown a lot, and they'd seen a lot of serious growth in the characters.
There's always a big growth around episode 30.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
It happened in campaign 1, it happened in campaign 2, and it recently happened in campaign 3.
In campaign 2, right around that was when they lost Mollybach, like you said, in 26. And then and right around that same amount of time is when Orion left the show, and they had a kind of big
that was like episode 26 of the first season.
Yeah. And so but I'd say now I am with you, Renee, on campaign 3. It's starting to really get good.
Yeah.
I had a tough time getting into some of these characters at the beginning. I was like, I don't know. I think they're all trying to be a little experimental and break away from some of their other characters, and I dig that. But I really wasn't caring as much. Like I honestly, when Travis introduced Akapi, I was like, I am not into Chetney. I don't get fucking Chetney. I don't understand.
Chetney's one of my favorite characters, actually.
Yeah, see, now I'm really liking him.
I adore Chetney.
I think
honestly, I think my least favorite is Imogen, and the only reason is because she relies too heavily on the whole reading minds.
Well, she's built.
But that's her shtick.
But the thing is that I've also seen a lot of stuff where they're like, people are bitching about that because they're like, Matt needs to read the fucking rules. Mm-hmm. If she goes deeper than surface thoughts, they know it.
Right.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Whether or not they make the save or fail to save, they know who's doing it and what they're doing.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think he does make her roll. He does make her roll for those and stuff like that when she's going deeper. But I do think
he's a save is what it is.
I think he has been a lot more fast and loose though with and that's one of the complaints actually. One of the few complaints they do make about Matt is that he leans into the rule of cool a little too much and
not nearly as much as what's her name. Abria. Her rule of cool was way too loose.
But I mean, that's what you can do as a DM.
Yep.
It's your game.
It's your game.
That's the power of being a DM.
Absolutely.
I like the rule of cool, but I lean more towards the rules.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you absolutely do.
But yeah, no, I'm actually really liking the characters in campaign 3 now. Like each character has had like a really awesome moment, like a really like human moment, I should say.
Yeah.
The date with
with
what's his name, that ogre.
Pretty.
That was fucking hilarious.
Loved
it. And Pretty breaking up with all of them basically. Just you're all really nice, but
I like it when they came back from the theater. Yeah, I like it when they came back from the theater. And he's like he's actually discussing the intricacies of the
minutia of
the minutia. Yeah, I was like, oh my god.
They go back and see Pretty at some point because they stay at that
recently. Yeah, they stayed and he's like, oh, hey, go.
I didn't know it was you guys.
He takes food off of other people's tables. Yeah.
Awesome.
I actually we've been seeing. I think this season or this campaign. We've seen a lot more of those like kind of silly casual episodes where they do shit like that. They just recently had a gambling episode where they spent at least a good hour in a casino gambling and playing games of chance and role playing through that. And I'm listening to it because I'm kind of rolling my eyes. I'm like, guys, can we move the story along? But it was,
But
I could
sometimes
even
you
tell
need that.
Matt.
But-
I could even tell Matt was like, "Oh, for God's sake!"
But that's part of the story.
it is.
Yeah.
And
People have normal lives, not just I'm in a dungeon.
Right.
Yeah.
and I think he really and that's that Matt has. I think that they all remember that. You know, they're
Mhm.
like, we got to remember that this is something that people do, and this is fun for us. So we're not always just it's so serious and we got to go and fight the bad guy. We get to also get drunk in a tavern. You know, I saw a comment more recently on a Facebook group for Vox Machina and for Critical Role, and somebody had called out Taliesin for being. He said something about like, I would hate having Taliesin at my table. I think he fudges his rolls, and I think he always acts like he's smarter than everybody else, and he's so superior. Blah 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 blah. And people are like, "What does the matter with you?" You know, and
Yeah.
like. Taliesin is one of the most experienced gamers at the table, so of course he is going to probably be a little more knowledgeable.
He also DMs other
Right. He
games.
also there's somebody also complained that he tells Matt how things are instead of letting Matt tell them how they are sometimes, and I go and
A lot
people
of
were
them
also
did that
defending him and
in
saying
the first game they would
Right.
try. Orion was really bad at that.
Orion was bad to the point where he became, you know, it was offensive. You know, I mean, he was like, this is still Matt's game. I think Taliesin does it well enough to just be like, kind of help Matt along a little bit every once in a while. And on top of the fact that almost every time Taliesin has made a character, he's made a character that's an experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
You know,
Every single one of them is.
Mollymac was totally an experiment.
Caduceus is probably the only one that wasn't.
Right. Yeah. And he was still an out of the ordinary cleric, you
Yeah.
know. But like Percy was a complete
because he was dumb.
experiment. Because what's that?
Caduceus was really wise but really dumb.
Yeah, he wasn't. Yeah,
He was a bumpkin.
Yeah, he played him. He wasn't educated.
And it was because he had a low intelligence modifier.
But Percy was a fucking gunslinger, man. There's no gunslinger class in D&D, or at least
At
there
least
wasn't
not at that time.
Yeah.
He was a complete port over from Pathfinder.
Yep.
And so it was a major kind of like experiment. And I mean, Molly Muck being a blood hunter, that was new.
That was something that Matt and Taliesin created.
Mm-hmm. And now Ashton. Well, I gotta admit, my least favorite character of all of Percy's characters, but I'm warming up to Ashton a little bit more. Ashton's rage, or his barbarian subclass is completely new.
Yeah, it's a chaos barbarian.
The
or
chaos
whatever.
barbarian and stuff.
Path of Chaos or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I dig the power set. I think it's kind of cool.
I think it's kind of cool that he rolls to see what he's like. Oh, that ain't
Kind
gonna
of
help.
energy.
Yeah, he's like that's not gonna help.
It's kind of like a
Wild
oddball
magic.
concentrated version, yes, of
Yeah.
wild magic.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, we got off on a tangent on Critical Role, and that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about other things in D&D as well, like our show. So, come watch our show on Friday night. I saw that I took a look at the chat, and I see Pete is out there listening at least. So hey, Pete.
Hey, Pete.
So along
Pete
with
knows
that,
now.
we can start getting into some other talk. So it has been a huge couple of weeks for
Monstrous.
for D&D, and there's been a lot of things going on in the news, and a lot of conflict between the gaming community and Wizards of the Coast and / Hasbro, really. A lot of stuff about corporate greed and things like that. But one of the things that's come out is they said, well, we're going to change the OGL. We're going to put out a new one, and you have to conform to this and blah blah blah, and people revolted. So they kind of said, all right, well, we're going to step back, we're going to pull all this back, and we're going to redo it.
Peasants are revolting.
Yeah, and exactly, the peasants are revolting.
But the peasants have money.
Money.
Yes.
And money talks. And when you lose tens of thousands of
What
dollars.
was it, Russ? 54,000 subscribers or something like that?
I heard it was
canceled?
44, but
Okay.
it might have grown to 54. It was
Like,
a lot.
Practically overnight.
Yeah, five numbers.
Yeah.
Five
Yeah.
digits
Five
of
digits.
subscribers.
Now
Just-
now granted, there are probably several 100,000, if not millions, of subscribers of D&D Beyond at this
Yeah.
point, but that's still a substantial chunk, and it was only going to get worse.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know? And it happened overnight.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing.
Don't try to bully the nerds with adult money.
Yes. And that's the thing. So, nerds aren't going to be bullied anymore. And one of the things that came out of this was the hashtag of D&D be gone,
Right.
which honestly, that's a great hashtag for an anti D&D sentiment. But you had people like Jenny D, who was going to take the entire month of January off to plan her year out to what she was going to do. And she actually came out and made a comment because so many people were asking for it. And she basically
Right.
said, look at this person, this person, and this person, because they can tell you more about what's going on than I can in a better way. And then
Right.
she ended it with, I'm going to go reevaluate my entire career path.
Yeah.
Because everything that she had basically changed her whole career to being a D&D content creator.
Right.
And
Started out as a performer that made parody songs and was a cosplay artist, and then
I love
shift.
I didn't even realize that was her until
Yeah.
like much later. I started watching her D&D stuff and then went,
Right.
holy shit, wait, she's the one that did the Hogwarts song? And
Right, yeah. And then she still does some of that stuff.
Yeah.
She still does the parody songs, and she still does some cosplay stuff, but she
Jester's
pretty much
mom,
shifted
man.
her whole Jester's mom is great. She pretty much shifted her entire career, content like stuff into D&D stuff.
Yeah.
And she's great. She's really great. I've rarely seen anybody dive so deeply, so fast into D&D than Jenny D and be
Yeah.
so successful
And honestly, it's because of Critical Role. She
It
fell
is.
in love with Critical Role, and that's what got her to start playing.
Yep. It's very true.
Were you going to say something,
Um,
Renee?
I was, but I started reading a little bit more into it. It's between 40 and 50,000 unsubscribed in like a matter of like 40 hours.
Yeah. So that made Hasbro go, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
And-
initial like quote that I saw, but I'm like, yeah, it's Reddit. Let me read into this just
Yeah.
a little bit more.
So
Said something like 70% of lost 77 or 70% of their subscribers. I'm like, that seems a bit high.
Yeah, that's
And I'm like, okay, there's no confirmation on that. So, okay, that's just Reddit being Reddit. Okay.
there's no
but,
way it was 70%. There's
No.
there's
they'd have been
millions of
flipping their
people.
fucking lids if that was the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was reading
so-
a little bit more, but it was it confirmed between 40 and 50,000.
Yeah, so with that, they released another edition, basically walking back some of the stuff. And people still went, no, fuck you.
Mhm.
This still isn't acceptable because they're VTT stuff. So our show started off using a virtual tabletop. And there's some cool things about virtual tabletops. Like you can do spell effects if you have the right mods and things like that. There's some really cool things. Like, you can if somebody casts fairy fire, you can actually make the characters those that are affected by it glow to show that they're affected by it. It's basically the effect of taking a ring, like one of the condition rings, and putting it on that mini.
Right.
Mhm.
But one of the things that they came out with was saying, well, if you can't do anything that you can't do at the table. So you can't do spell effects. You can't do you can't show like a magic missile flying off from the mage and hitting somebody. You can't show the visual effects of a fireball because you can't do that at your table. And people are like, well, fuck you. I can set up a firework at my table if I want to. So
Shit, we do it with lights, and you have the
Yeah.
little things. I'm like, that's pretty.
Well, and
fucking
that's the thing. So
close.
for me, it's like I don't see any difference between making a model on a virtual tabletop glow with fairy fire as any different than me taking the ring and putting the fairy fire ring on that fig.
Agreed.
The only difference is the visuals of it. It still shows the same effect. So I tell them to fuck off with that. But that was one of the big things was the virtual tabletop stuff, because what it really seemed like to everyone, if you read a lot of the stuff that people were posting, is that they're planning on putting out their own virtual tabletop. They've already announced that they're going to do it. And so they're trying to stop people from being able to use any other virtual tabletop that's out there. They want to kill the market. And if theirs is going to be as cool as their video showed, they've got nothing to fucking worry about. People will flock to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
As long as
remember
reasonably
seeing
priced.
I remember seeing some of that video and some of that footage, and it looks amazing.
Yeah, they're going to use the Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
It's going to be what is that? It's the third person. It's the isometric view. And so it's not going to be directly over, so it's not going to just be flat. You can actually have what looks like figs. So I mean, I'm sure that I know that Hero Forge already does that for another tabletop that does an isometric view. So I mean, I'm sure you can still get like you can still make Hero Forge figs and bring them in and things like that. So I mean, if it's going to be as cool as it is, they had nothing to worry about. So people rebelled. D&D Begone went out there. They lost a bunch of money. Hasbro is throwing Kyle Brink under the fucking bus. Because he hasn't even been in his position as like the head of development or whatever for D&D for like 3 months.
Yeah, I was just gonna say he's still brand new.
Yeah. And they're basically making him make all the statements, which means that they're making him the scapegoat.
Yep.
God, it's a shitty position to be in.
Oh yeah, it is. And he's got to know that that he has a limited window here. Because he's going to be the one that gets fired for this. And it's not his fault. He just came on.
But I bet he has a golden parachute.
I'm hoping he does. But a lot of the stuff I've also seen is that the development team at D&D, at Wizards of the Coast D&D, which is like Chris Perkins and all of those people, they truly want to make a good game.
Right. Yeah.
They're not involved in all this corporate bullshit.
Mm-mm.
They just want to make a good game. So one of the other things that came out in all this, and this is another sidetrack, but anyway, with all this is that they said they're going to put out a survey, and we'll solicit your feedback, and people said nobody reads those. They don't give a fuck what you put. They just that's just a way to contain you. And so that you put all your fire into that and stop posting on Reddit and stop posting on Twitter and stop posting everywhere else. So that now you've got a focus for your anger. You can put it there and think somebody's going to read it, but they don't. And they came back out and said, no, whoa, no, we actually do read this.
Yeah, they had actually said something to the effect of like huge amounts of man hours go into reading all the comments and all of the feedback and everything. Like it's massive amounts of work hours go into it. So
yeah,
that was completely debunked.
Yeah. So after all of that, they came out with an announcement where it was the OGL 1.0A and Creative Commons announcement that they posted on D&D Beyond. This is from Kyle Brink, and they basically said they were going to play test the new OGL. And so they did. They put it out and they said, and this is within days. Mm-hmm. They basically said, when you give us feedback, playtest feedback, we take it seriously. Already more than 15,000 of you have filled out the survey. Here's what you said. 88% do not want to publish tabletop role-playing game content under OGL 1.2.
Yep.
90% would have to change some aspect of their business to accommodate OGL 1.2.
Yep.
89% are dissatisfied with deauthorizing OGL 1.0a. 86% are dissatisfied with the draft VTT policy. And 62% are satisfied with including System Reference Document, SRD, content in Creative Commons, and the majority of those who were dissatisfied asked for more SRD content in Creative Commons. Now, so Creative Commons is it's an umbrella of releasing content that's available for other people to use. It's not controlled by Wizards. It's actually a different thing. They don't actually control it. I don't know who actually controls it or whatever, but Creative Commons, basically, you put it out there and anyone can use it.
Yeah.
And this is just more from this article. It says, these live survey results are clear. You want OGL 1.0a, you want irrevocability, you like Creative Commons. The feedback is in such high volume and its direction is so plain that we're acting now. And these were the 3 things that they put out. And I saw a bunch of things. We even posted it on Nerds. We are leaving OGL 1.0a in place as is, untouched.
Yep.
We are also making the entire SRD 5.1 available under Creative Commons license. And 3, you choose which you prefer to use. So that's great, but that still only affects 5e content. 1D&D is going to be something completely different, and that's going to, I think, be under a much more strict OGL once it comes out next year. That's the big thing that they're not saying, is that this is only for 5e content.
See, I don't think that D&D 1 is going to be all that different. I mean, they're going to be adding things. They're going to be changing, making some minor
they're making a lot of changes.
Hmm.
It's going to be compatible with 5e, but it's going to be something completely different. They're making it, it's really like 5e and 4e had a baby, is what, from what I've read so far. Because they're going back to a lot of the stuff in 4e that I hated. Like, they're making it more like a video game. It's the oh, look, you know, not necessarily the clerics that can't heal, but I've seen a lot of other things like that. What was that, Renee? Oh,
she's gonna be right back.
Oh,
I think Trevor needed to go outside.
Oh, but anyway, so just to continue, that the Creative Commons license makes the content freely available for any use. We don't control the license and cannot alter or revoke it. It's open and irrevocable in a way that doesn't require you to take our word for it. And its openness means there's no need for a VTT policy. Placing the SRD under a Creative Commons license is a one-way door. There's no going back. Our goal here is to deliver what you want, what you wanted. So what about the goals that drove us to this? Drove us, and when we started this process, we wanted to protect D&D player experience in the future. We still want to do that with your help. We're grateful that the community is passionate and active because we'll need your help protecting the game's inclusive and welcoming nature. So they're kind of that right there. I don't like that statement, because they're basically saying, well, we were trying to help you guys. It's more of that abusive relationship bullshit that they're putting in there. We were trying to help you guys. Now we need you to help us police all this stuff.
Okay. Chris, I get what you're saying, but they have essentially, this whole situation, they have essentially fallen on their swords here. They've basically backed off on everything. They basically went, okay,
I don't trust it.
Okay, shit. I know you don't trust it, but that's you. I really feel like, I think cooler heads prevailed in this situation, and they finally, I mean, at the very least, it took them losing a lot of money and a lot of fan base, and a lot of faith for Hasbro to finally say, oh, maybe you guys are right. maybe we should, because I'm guessing that the people from Wizards, the people that give a shit about the game, like you were saying, the game development team that were probably trying to tell Hasbro, don't fuck with the nerds. It took them that hard lesson before Hasbro finally went, shit, all right, just do what you got to do to fix it. And that's what they did. They rolled it back and said, okay, yep, you're right. You guys, we listened to you. At the same time, there's only so far they're going to go before they don't want to lose face completely. So they're going to say, some sort of corporate bullshit to make the board happy. Because if they went and they said, you guys are right, we fucked up, we're sorry, you guys get anything you want, the board's going to be like, what the fuck is the matter with you? You're going to make us look like chumps. They already look like chumps, and we all know that. But a lot of this that you're talking about is just corporate bullshit to like save face. In all honesty, I also think that if they end up fucking around with D&D 1 afterwards, they're gonna get bit again. I don't know. I think it's gonna be quite a while before we see them try anything else even remotely close to this.
And I don't think it is. I think it's going to be a year. There were internal documents that basically said, give it a couple of months, they'll forget about this.
Yeah. And they learned that wouldn't be the case. I think Hasbro is like, and on top of this, this is about a comment that I made on one of my personal posts on my page, because I did also post about this on my page, and I think I'm the one that
you're the one posted on
Nerds. That one of the things that, because I've had a number of older gamers that are that have, like guys like us that have been through some of the more dramatic and bullshitty things that TSR did to us back in the day, and then what Wizards has done to us a couple of times. And then they were like, oh, I don't trust it, and and everything else, and it's not that they didn't learn their lesson, they just they got taught a lesson or something, I don't know, whatever. And I go, what did I say? Cooler heads prevailed, and I think they were greatly afraid that this was going to overall affect their potential income streams that they're setting up for the future, meaning the movies, the TV shows, and more video games. I mean, Critical Role has the fact that the critters are going to support Critical Role no matter what, whether it was D&D related or not. They're safe. They got people that their fans are, whether they're using D&D or Pathfinder or some other system, the people will stay with the critters will stay with Critical Role no matter what they end up using. But if the fan base suddenly decides to divest themselves completely of anything D&D, that movie is going to tank. And we talked about it before, where people were calling for the boycott on the movie. And I'm like, don't do that. Don't boycott that movie, because that's going to ruin any potential of any other of a lot of other fantasy movies being made too. Would we see if A Feared and the Grey Mouse or fucking movie anytime soon if the D&D movie fails? Probably not. Would we see any kind of attempt at a Dragonlance movie or anything else? If this movie tanks, it's going to be a lot harder to get any other D&D movie made. So I think largely too, they're like, we got to make the nerds happy. We got to fix this situation. Otherwise, that movie that we just spent $100 million on, I mean, I don't think Hasbro did, but the studio that they spent $100 million on making that movie, it's going to tank. Then we're going to lose that income stream. Amazon that just signed off on an 8-episode live action D&D television show, they'll cancel that. They'll pull out of that. Fuck it. So I think a lot of this had to do with people at Hasbro thinking, all right, we got to clean this shit up. We got to fix this shit, because otherwise it's going to affect our stuff, our other bigger plans. Because as much money as they make off of D&D, they will make
drop in the bucket compared to everything else.
Exactly. It's if the movie takes off, if it becomes a series of movies, if a TV show takes off and becomes a bunch of different TV shows, that is where the real money is. That's where the money is going to. And Hasbro is huge too. Hasbro is a huge industry, toy industry and toy company.
Well, and with also like with Baldur's Gate coming out, Baldur's Gate 3 coming out,
Yep.
they didn't want people boycotting that.
Exactly.
They're going to be looking for those things, yes, and I agree with those. The other thing is that along with this, so just to finish real quick on this, they did release the full SRD 5.1 under Creative Commons, so that is out there now, and anyone can use it. But one of the other things that's come out of this is there are a lot of stockholders, from what I've heard, that are calling
Yeah.
for a complete change of the Hasbro board.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah, the stockholders like threw a fucking fit.
Yeah, they're like, nope, we want the entire board out.
Well, my bet is that the stock value must have dropped dramatically,
Mhm.
and they probably, stockholders pay attention.
Yep.
If you own stock in a company, whether it's Disney or Marvel or Hasbro or whatever, you start to pay attention when it becomes newsworthy. And this became newsworthy. This whole situation, like it bled into normal news feeds, not just nerdy news feed shit. So yeah, I'll bet you any money that the stockholders basically went, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, I didn't. So I did a quick Google search because I wasn't sure like everything that fell underneath the Hasbro umbrella. Because I know they're a conglomerate.
Mm-hmm.
I did not realize that they also own Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons,
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
Hasbro
Wizards.
Gaming. Yeah. Nerf. They now own Transformers, Play-Doh, and Peppa Pig. I didn't realize that they had Magic the Gathering as well.
Yeah, well, Magic the Gathering was Wizards of the Coast, and Wizards of the Coast
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
bought Dungeons and Dragons from TSR.
Gotcha.
Wizards of
Okay.
the Coast, in all honesty, Wizards of the Coast saved Dungeons and Dragons.
It really did, because TSR was going under.
Yes, they very much were. So yeah, it's
just to let you know. So on last Thursday, Hasbro stock was at $63.78 per share. On Friday, it was at $58.61.
It
That's a
went from
huge
what
drop.
to what?
It went from $63.78 to $58.61.
Ooh, that's a big
It's a big drop.
It dropped $5.
Yeah, that's a big drop.
Like overnight.
yeah,
That's
I'd like to see what it was 2 weeks ago.
And
or 2
as
weeks
of
before
today,
this.
it was back up. It was back up to $58.94. It has not gone back up. So what? I'm sorry, Russ. What was it?
I would have liked to see what it was 3 weeks ago before all this shit happened.
Well, it's dropped 4.86% in the last month.
Yeah. And that a lot has to be largely to do with this. I mean,
yeah, its highest in the last month was at 66.02, and that was January 13th.
Mm-hmm.
And then it dropped to like 61, went back up to 65, and then the big drop. I mean, it's like a fucking cliff on this.
Right.
that's a lot of money. That's a very substantial drop to happen
Yeah,
overnight.
It's actually
Absolutely.
it's been going down since like August.
You said, what was it? It was 63 to 58. Is that what you said, roughly?
64 to 58.
64 to 58
Or 63 to 58 in one day. Yeah.
in one day. So that's $5.
Mhm.
That's like 4%,
Yeah, 4.8%.
8%. Yeah, that's a lot of fucking money.
They're actually down
To happen
in
in
the
an
last
eye
6
blink?
months.
Yeah.
They're down over 25, almost 26% in the last 6 months. Hasbro.
So that's another reason why the stockholders were throwing a fit, because the stock has been on the decline, and then it dropped even dramatic, probably the biggest drop in like a 24 or 48 hour period. Holy
Yeah.
shit, they were calling for somebody's heads. Yeah, for real. They're like, what are you guys doing?
It's down over 36% in the last year.
Yeah.
That's-
They're screaming for their heads right now. So
Yeah, they are not doing well. And honestly, I'm right there with them. I don't own Hasbro stock, but I'd be like, yeah, fuck you. You need to get the fuck out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Merchandising.
Where the real money of the movie is.
Yeah.
And that's the
Bob
thing.
posted that in the chat.
They're setting this. They're setting themselves up for a greater revenue stream with these movies. And I mean, like, licensing the movie, the rights for Transformers out to cartoons and movies was probably a huge, revenue stream for Hasbro, like immense. The Transformers movies have all, for the most part, been pretty successful.
Even the ones that were bad.
Even the ones that were bad were still made money. Like Transformers 2 was terrible, and
Transformers 3, The Apology.
Yep. And but at the same time, the ones after that were decent, pretty good. 3, 4, 5 were pretty good. Bumblebee did extremely well, and they got a new one coming out pretty soon.
I actually wasn't gonna watch Bumblebee, and I finally watched it, and I'm like, it was all right. It was a cute movie.
Yeah, it was a little more family oriented. We've got
a boy in his car, or a girl in her car.
A girl and her robot.
Yeah, a girl and a robot. Yeah.
You've got more. We've got more new cartoons going on right now with the new Transformers cartoon that's on right now. They've got a new movie coming out.
I didn't know they had a new cartoon.
Yeah, it's called like Prime Star or something like that. It's like Megatron and Optimus are. It's like after the war. It's like the war has ended. Megatron and Optimus are not exactly friends, but they're not enemies anymore. I guess they're kind of frenemies, and it centers more. I haven't watched it yet, but it's just from what I've seen from the previews. But it centers more on these like 2 or 3 Transformers that were created on Earth. They're like born on Earth, and they're very young Transformers. It's very family, or it's very kid oriented.
They
So
should
how do
do like an odd
Transformers
couple.
reproduce?
The spark.
I can't go down that road. But
When
that
two
will break my
Transformers
brain.
love each other very much.
But bang,
How do
but
they
bang,
grow?
but bang, but bang.
Clang.
no.
Very rhythmic, though. It's extremely rhythmic.
Like the robot in the washing machine.
Oh man, well that took a turn.
They should do an odd couple where Optimus and Megatron live together.
Oh my god.
For some
Could
reason
you
they're forced to
imagine?
live together.
That would be so hilarious.
Oh, that
there-
would be.
there's
Actually,
a-
I would totally watch that.
I would too.
so would I. There's totally a scene like I saw in one of the previews where Megatron comes stomping up, chunk, 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 looking all aggressive and shitty, and he goes face to face with this human, looks down at the human looks up at him, and then they both just start laughing. You're such a basically she's like, you're such a mensch, and he's like, but no, I mean you got to admit. Even in the old cartoon, in the 80s cartoon, every once in a while you'd see Megatron and Optimus would talk to each other like, well, they've been doing this for hundreds of thousands of years. They know each other very well. I mean, after a point, enemies kind of become, frenemies. They become like comfortable. It's like the way Batman and the Joker really appreciates Batman because they've been doing it for so long, but yeah, dude,
Why do we even hate each other anymore?
Yeah, why are we doing this? What is? Yeah, I mean, it's just what's the point of doing this without you?
Even Han Solo and Boba Fett shook hands at the end of that actual story arc within the books.
Oh, within the books, maybe. Yeah.
Within the books.
For them, it was just business.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just business.
And
Boba Fett.
and
Boba Fett.
And Han
Where?
would understand that. It was just business.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody gave me money to hunt you down. Okay.
Yeah.
Just like I took money to, run drugs that killed people.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Running drugs. So
Want
yeah,
to buy some death sticks?
you don't want to sell me any death sticks.
I don't want to sell death sticks.
I think, guys, I mean, overall, this is one of those things that we're going to have to be vigilant about. We're going to have to be careful about. I think, if anything, what benefited this, and this is one of the things that I saw Ginny D made a big post on across all of her things when the capitulation happened, and she congratulated the community. Like, we rose up, we did this, we showed them that we weren't going to take their bullshit, and they we won, and that's one of the things that I get kind of frustrated with people that keep doomsaying this. I'm like, this is a win, guys. We won out against the corporation. We showed them that we were not going to capitulate, and that we were easily and very easily will pivot to another game if they're going to do that. And hence the fact that Pathfinder is selling out everywhere.
Yep.
And they've sold out. They've pretty much sold out of their existing stock, and have gone back to print because they're printing more books.
Well, and they're continuing to go along with their plan of releasing
they
York.
absolutely are. This situation is going to give every other smaller company a big shot in the arm towards more of their own stuff. We're going to see stuff from Kobold Press. We're going to see Pathfinder has probably had one of the biggest surges in sales in the last 2 weeks than they've had in years. Because ever since D&D 5.0 came out, Pathfinder started to decline because Pathfinder was on the rise, and then people found D&D 5.0 and they went, "Oh, look at this! This is kind of a lot more streamlined, less math, and yeah, Pathfinder's cool, but this is a little bit easier." But now Pathfinder is, particularly with 2.0, is back on the rise again.
And because there's going to be a good portion of the community that they lost their trust in D&D.
Absolutely. There's a huge portion of this community that's like, nope, you broke my trust, and I'm not going back. And it's going to take a long time before those people decide to try D&D again. And these are I think a lot of them are the more diehard ones, the more old school guys, and the more, and some of the more damn the man kind of people, So
yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful.
Me too.
I'm still going to be vigilant. I still don't trust them because I think it's still corporate greed rules the U.S. right now.
Absolutely.
And it's not about that we need to make profits. We need to make record profits. And that's the thing. When they say that they lost money, it's not that they lost money. It's not that they were in the red. They just weren't high enough in the black.
Yeah.
That's and to me that's bullshit doublespeak. It's we lost money. No, you didn't. You still made a fuck ton of money.
Right.
You just didn't make a big enough fuck ton for you to feel comfortable about your manhood.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw a thing saying like something about how utility companies had cut utilities for millions of homes across the country at some point, but almost all of them have recorded record profits. I mean, that's just an example.
It's the same thing with the oil companies.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, well, we got to raise prices. Oh, look, we made record profits.
Yeah, gas is at almost in the Detroit area. Gas in some places is it's anywhere from $3.25 to I think $3.60 in a few places, and just a week ago, or not a week, maybe 3 weeks ago, it was down under $3 again. But all of a sudden, it shot up, and the gas companies are recording record high profits in the trillion, in the hundreds of billions of dollars, and this is absolutely ridiculous and bullshit, and it's got to change. Mm-hmm. And if it changes with entertainment, if that's the first place where it starts, then great. That's where.
Isn't like the definition of racketeering is doing that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the actual definition of racketeering is, but yeah. But I was just going to say, so
it's only racketeering if the government doesn't get their cut.
That sounds about right, actually. Yeah.
So one of the things, just to go back to the whole D&D thing, and honestly, I think Renee had a great statement about it, and that's that nerds will not be bullied anymore.
Yeah.
And when you try and bully them, they're going to fight back.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is because, like she said, we have adult money now.
Yep.
And nerds.
And we will freely spend it.
It's cool to be a nerd now.
Mm-hmm.
All the nerds that grew up, like the original nerds that played D&D back before it was cool.
Like everyone on this show right now, except for you.
Yep. Nerds rule the world now. A lot
Yeah.
of nerds are CEOs or high management and have a lot of money.
A lot of
it's like,
discretionary income.
Yeah.
well, it's like when like say 25 years ago or 20 years ago, when everybody started turning out, let's see, yeah, about 25 years ago, when a lot of nostalgic kind of things started being remade, when they started remaking things like He-Man and the Transformers and Thundercats and things like
G.I.
that,
Joe
and G.I. Joe, and it's because everybody all of the 80s Gen Xers that were kids back in the 80s have grown up and have money and are now repurchasing our childhood.
Yep.
Yep. Because you weren't allowed to have one. Because you were
Right, or-
practically feral.
I'm laughing because
I
it's true.
Yeah.
I'm convinced.
Come home to an empty
Chris
house.
tells me stories about like him going out drinking when he was like 16, drinking in a field, and like cops coming by and like, get the fuck home. Like, are you kidding? I lose my ability to go to college if that happened. If I did that, I get barred from college if I get an MIP.
Yeah. Well, it's just
very different worlds we grew up in.
Well, like mom and dad would kick you out of the house, or mom would kick you out of the house at on a Saturday.
Be back before dark,
and just be back when the lights. You don't even have to.
When the street lights come on.
When the street lights came on, or
if
we lived and died by the street lights.
Yeah, if you're still out when the street lights come on, you're in trouble.
Then you're in trouble because it's dark at that point, right?
Whereas
and that's the thing. The summertime, it don't get dark till 9:30, so we would be out pretty late sometimes.
I had to report
come back when you get hungry, that kind of thing.
I couldn't just go out. I had to say where I was going, report in when I got to that destination, report in when I was about to leave said destination, and be home in the appropriate amount of time.
Yeah. It come back when you're hungry, and then you just call and go, "Hey, Ma, yeah, I'm eating at Russ's tonight."
Yeah. That was it.
I mean, it would like they asked me to stay for dinner. Okay, like we did have that, but it was like just go out without a destination.
I mean, hell, we'd go over to friends' houses, and then and so my parents had friends. They were a few miles away, and they were a couple miles from one of the malls, Oakland Mall specifically, and me and the guy that I was friends with, their son, who was a year younger than me, and my brother, who's 2 years younger than me, and sometimes the other guy's sister, who was 3 years younger than me. So we were all staggered by a year. We'd jump on bikes and ride over to Oakland Mall and hang out for the day, go watch a movie, just at like 14 13, 14 years old.
Just and left there for hours.
Yeah, we just head out to the mall and wander around for a couple hours, watch a movie.
Get dropped off at the mall, have $10 in quarters for the arcade, have enough money to buy something, some kind of food.
Usually a pretzel.
Yeah.
Oh, it depends.
Orange Julius.
and maybe enough to go see a movie.
Yeah,
if that's and that would be it. You
could do that for 20 and you could do that with $20.
Yeah, you could be there for 8 hours, and then it was basically a, hey, call when you're done. Don't call before 3 o'clock.
Yeah. Because mom and dad are napping.
No, it's just mom was out running grocery shopping or whatever, and dad was at work, so he wasn't going to be around to pick us up.
Very different worlds.
Well, it's either that or, if somebody had a learner's permit and we would borrow an older sister's car and drive to the mall or the arcade without the sister knowing.
Right. Or you bribe an older,
not
sibling
my older sister. It was a friend of mine's older sister.
Sure.
And he was always like, "Hey, I want to learn how to." Okay, and in the movies where you see, somebody trying to drive stick who didn't really know.
You find it till you grind, or grind it till you find it.
Pretty much, and stalling out in the middle of an intersection. Oh yeah, we did that.
Yeah.
Oh, man,
very, very, very different worlds. There was always a watchful eye.
Not on us. Nobody
No.
gave a
It
shit.
sounds glorious.
Yeah.
It sounds wonderful.
Honestly, it was. It really was. It was a beautiful time to grow up. But
We got
anyway,
to see all the amazing advancements of technology and
Without
actually
cell phone
have
cameras.
them
yes,
and have the mental capacity to be able to adapt and learn them. And
not
still got freedom for the parents. Granted, you got no affection from your parents, and that's a whole other bag of worms. However,
That's why we're all in therapy.
Yeah.
That's why we're all in therapy. Yeah.
But as Bob said,
that's why
though,
we
too,
started playing D&D.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. That was our therapy. But also we did everything. We did all our stupid shit without cell phone cameras. So there's no fucking evidence, which means it didn't happen.
Right.
Cop didn't see it. I didn't do it.
And if anybody would have brought a camera, we would have been like, put that shit away.
Right. Yeah.
What are you doing? Idiot?
You had to wait for like 2 days for it to develop anyway.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't matter. We didn't want proof. We weren't taking pictures of us doing something stupid or videos and then posting it while we're still in the middle of doing something.
Yeah, that's the dumb shit that a lot of the kids are doing now. It's like,
And
look
then
at me do this dumb fucking thing that's illegal.
Yeah, and then wondering, how'd the cops find me?
Just let Darwinism play out.
Yep. All right. Well, we should probably wrap things up.
We should.
We will be here. Russ and I will be back tomorrow, 8:00.
Yep.
For Nerds with Alcohol. We got a lot to talk about.
We do.
Because I wasn't here. We weren't here last week because I was out of town. So we got to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
We got Vox Machina. We got a bunch of, we got some celebrity deaths. We had
some celebrity deaths. There was the final trailer for the D&D movie was released. The new trailer for Shazam.
Picard season 3 trailer dropped today.
Yeah. Another one, and it's and I mean that show starts in 2 weeks, so roughly 2 weeks.
And Renee and I just finished Picard season 2, so.
Yeah, we can discuss it. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Me personally, I enjoyed it. I thought it was nostalgic.
Overall, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I had some.
There was a lot of critical. There were a lot of people that were hypercritical about Picard and both seasons. And I thought the second season was, I thought they were both good. Not the greatest Star Trek they've ever had, but it was fun.
Yeah.
We can discuss that.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that, and then Friday we'll all be back in the nerd basement for Tavern Knights.
That's right.
At 7:30 Eastern Time, right here on Twitch.
Dungeons and Dragons!
Dungeons and Dragons!
Can we play Dungeons and Dragons tomorrow?
Can we please? We're also probably going to talk a little bit about Wednesday. I got into watching Wednesday. It is absolutely fantastic.
It's really good.
I'm not done with it yet. I'm a little more than half. The next episode I got to watch is where they introduce Fester. So.
Okay.
So I'm a little more than halfway done.
Yeah, we're done with that one. We still have an episode of Last of Us to watch.
Oh yeah, I gotta watch.
We got 2 now. Actually, we got 2 episodes of Last of Us to watch because
I gotta watch last night's episode. It is. Some people are calling it one of the best episodes of television in the last year. Last night's episode, episode 3. They're saying it's absolutely fantastic. And
speaking of Last of Us,
but it also diverges a bit from the game.
But yeah, I actually started playing Last of Us again too.
Good.
On PS5. I got the PS5 version.
Good.
And I'm already farther than I was the last time I played it.
Good. Yeah, like I said,
and I haven't wanted to throw the controller through the TV yet.
You made enough shanks?
I'm making shanks all the time now.
Yeah,
I've learned how good shanks are.
Yeah.
I just hate that I can only carry 3.
I'm in a painting phase.
What's that?
I'm in a painting phase. I'll get the consoles again.
Well, I did just paint a new fig. You guys will see it tomorrow because I'm actually using it to replace the dwarf that was in the model in the room with this one because it looks more like the dwarf. It's
a great paint job. It's awesome.
Awesome.
But yeah, so join us then. Join us tomorrow. Join us on Friday, and I think that's gonna about do it. Thanks a lot, guys, for joining us tonight. Thanks Renee and Bob and Russ for all coming out. Pete, it's too bad you weren't here because you could have talked about some stuff. It was a good
discussion, man.
Yeah,
good discussion, man.
Really awesome. But yeah, so we will see you guys later. Have a good night.
Good night.